Hello and welcome to another edition of Choose to Challenge. I am LaWanna Bradford, your host for today's first edition of Power of the Pen. And this is where in Choose to Challenge, we are speaking to authors, those who are leveraging their voice through the written word to help create impact, influence, and change within the world. And I am so excited to have a new author on the scene, Miss Katheryn Yarborough. How are you doing, Katheryn?
Hi, LaWanna. I'm happy to be here today. Delighted and I'm relaxed.
That's good. That's good. Well, I'm so excited about this conversation. I want to tell our viewers a little bit about you. You are the creator of Manifesting Clients Academy, the Moving Sidewalk Movement. You are a mentor. You are a speaker. You are the influencer in this appointed time. And I'm just so excited that we've known each other outside of this platform. So it's been a true blessing to me, but I'm even more excited that this version of Choose to Challenge, you are the first author.
Yay. I'm just really appreciative of this opportunity. I love every single time I get a chance to hold my book up. I figure, that's an opportunity to do that because I am a first-time author. So, wow, I actually have a book to hold up. How cool is that?
That's amazing. So your book is Keep Moving Forward, a guide for the on-purpose solopreneur. So let's hold it up again so everyone can see it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yay. It's exciting. It's exciting. So I want this to be a very engaging and comfortable conversation. I don't want to give away all the goodies in the book because we want people to buy the book. But I want to walk away with individuals understanding why this book is so important at this time. We know, Katheryn, that with the pandemic, the most hardest hit individuals have been women, whether they were in the corporate space, in the entrepreneurial space, trying to pivot and figure out how to get their sea legs back, if you will, how to create that business that will be successful and sustainable. And this book, as you said, it's a guide. So not only are you giving your philosophy, your business philosophy, and you're doing it in a very unique way, but you're also giving tips and tools and strategies to guide individuals along the way. And first thing that I'd like to ask you is why this message and why now?
So this message, first of all, I've had an idea of writing a book for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs for several years. And the original idea was that I would be sharing business basics through my lens. Like, how do you manifest clients? What do you need to do to grow a business? But I thought about it and then I would push it aside. For several years that happened. And then this past year, what happened for me was that I had a conversation with my future on purpose self. And it's one of the core principles that's in the book. And with the work that I teach these days, I talk about the keep moving forward approach to growing the business your heart longs for. And to do that, what I'm teaching people to do and what I am doing myself is building a relationship with my future on purpose self, and for each person to build a relationship with their future on purpose self. And I'd like to say, if it's okay, before I completely answer your question, what I mean by that. Is that okay, LaWanna, with you, if I take time to do that?
Yes, and that's perfect, because I did want you to define, when people hear on purpose self, what does that really mean? So perfect.
Okay. So I believe that we all have an infinite number of futures in front of us. And depending on what we do, what actions we take, what thoughts we think, who we hang out with, different possible futures will manifest. So the extreme might be for the rest of your life, you sit in front of Netflix and veg out watching TV shows. Well, what's that future look like if you do that? Another possible future, you just always do what your parents or your husband or wife or friends tell you to do. What does that future look like? You keep doing the same thing you've always done. What does that future look like? So there's an infinite number of futures. And I believe we all have one of those futures is the future where we've been listening to what our purpose is, which is a feeling inside, something that wants to be expressed through each of us. For me, my purpose has to do with inspiring on-purpose solopreneurs, being an inspiration, bringing that inspirational energy onto the planet to spark the on-purpose solopreneurs who are out there to move forward with growing the business their heart longs for. And as we tune in to our future on-purpose self and that feeling of purpose, we can define what that is. But if I take actions every day based on using my future on purpose self as a North Star, which is what I teach people to do, like meet your future on purpose self. She's already inside of you. You can just tune into her. And if you meet her and build a relationship with her, she can be your North Star and guide you. So to answer your question, about a year ago, she basically said to me, Katheryn, if you write a book, you'll really learn what you're here to teach. And so I thought, okay, I'd been teaching a lot of this stuff, those business basics that I mentioned earlier. But when I sat down and started writing this book, other things came. The clarity of the importance of tuning into our future on purpose self. And for me, the truth that if we align with that, we are moving in alignment with the divine. That when those things started coming to me and I was writing that level in the book, I was like, okay, this is worth publishing. This is my spin on it. And it's more than just business basics because yes, there are books out there where you can get a more cut and dry business basics and how to grow a business approach. But mine is specific for folks who feel called to do what they do, who are or want to be on purpose.
I love what you said, and there was a critical nugget in that your revelation, if you will, of that North Star, that true, that refined purpose, if you will, was clarified for you in writing this book. And sometimes individuals will beat themselves up because it's like, I don't know my purpose. I don't know. I'm looking and I feel this pressure that I have to know my purpose. But in my opinion, and I'd like to just toss it to you, Katheryn, our purpose, it may shift slightly as we ebb and flow through our life's experiences, but the summation of those experiences lead us to where we were divinely intended to go. And I remember reading, just how you in your book, and some people were like, well, business and spiritual need to be separate, but you have created this marriage in those conversations. So would you like to talk to us a little bit about that?
Right. So those are really two questions for me, the marriage between spirituality and practicality and growing a business, and then the conversation about purpose. And I am one of those people who over the years felt lost about my purpose and sought it out. In my 20s, I was reading books, and in my 30s, I was reading books. And in my 40s, I was having conversations with people about, well, what is purpose and how do I find it? And so I have read a lot about how do we find purpose, and is it a job? Is it a way of being? And Eckhart Tolle, I think, he says our purpose is to awaken. And so what really has shook my world is this experience of meeting what I'm calling my future on purpose self. just tapping into the sensation. What I do is I take my clients on a guided journey, and I do it myself as I'm doing this, or before. When I first started doing this with people, I would do it before I guided people in an event or something. And this tapping into the feeling of purpose and then imagining this future self who's doing it, that's how I'm discovering what I'm here to do. I see her standing in front of rooms with hundreds of people in the room, speaking, leading, facilitating. And for anybody who's listening, and LaWanna, you may or may not know this about me. Now I do events, but there's 5 to 10 people in the room. I just did my launch party for my book, and I found out there were 38 people on the Zoom call, which was really exciting because I'm used to rooms with 5 to 10 people in them. But I've got a future on purpose self who has more people in the room. The path between where I am and where she is, there's going to be a lot of stuff I need to learn along the way. But now that I've developed this relationship with her, I am trusting her guidance, what she's telling me from the future as my North Star more and more. And I'm beginning to believe that I will actually become her in this lifetime. And that is huge.
Have you found when you look at your future on purpose self that, and I'm just choosing this word, that sometimes it's a little intimidating to see how amazing and magnificent and impactful and far-reaching that she is?
Yes, for myself. And I'm going to say that in sharing this guided journey with my clients, I'm also hearing from them that their future on purpose self is amazing too. Just wonderful. And what I love about getting to know my future on purpose self, there's 2 sides to answer to your question. One is, oh my God, facilitating events with hundreds of people in them, right? Oh my God, having that many people who like and trust and know me that they will come to what I would do. How am I going to deal with all those people? There's that side of it and why things might be small. And then there's the other side, which is she is so loving. And my heart warms getting to know her. And she is there's a confidence about her that is an assured confidence, like it's just a knowing her stuff so well that she can be so present with people and tuned into divine guidance with people. That's just like, yeah, I want to be her. And so on the one hand, it is, for me, the daunting part is the logistics and the wow, all those people, and how is that going to happen? But the who she is, oh, LaWanna, I really, really like who she is. And I love that I get to practice being her starting now. I get to practice my heart being open like hers is, practice knowing and having the confidence about my material like she does. So yeah, it's cool.
And that's beautiful. And, because we are mirroring the divine in this conversation, I think the amazing part of it is she's already here. It's just right now the world is orchestrating itself around you to receive her in all of her glory. But she's already here. So, now, I love how you use the analogy of a car and a trip to get us to sit in our truth and understand how do we manifest all that we want to do when you start with the driver and the vision. So let's take a little bit of time. And I don't want to, get deep into the book, but just we know how important vision is. And so many people leave this earth with those dreams that have never manifested. They are intentional, but they're not committed. So let's talk about lining that commitment with that vision and why it's so important.
Okay, so how about if I name the 4 parts of ourselves in the car and the trunk, and then we'll see where we go with that. How does that sound?
That works.
Okay. So this is kind of an interesting story that LaWanna heard about. The cover, there is a woman in a car driving, and my sister who came to the launch party that LaWanna was at that I mentioned earlier, the launch party for my book, helped me to decide who to put in the car because there's all kinds of graphics that we can use. And she came to the launch party and my sister had just finished reading the book. And she said, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea those conversations about the cover, that there was a car in here because the basis of the book is about a car." So when you read this, if you decide to get the Keep Moving Forward book, what you'll discover is that I'm using the metaphor of going on a trip in a car. With where you are right now, just if you're in your home right now, if you wanted to go somewhere, let's say I'm in Florida and I want to go to Washington State, Seattle, I know where I want to go. If I decide I want to go to Seattle, I'm going to pull things up off the internet. I'm going to start to get a vision in my mind of what Seattle looks like. I'll probably go onto Facebook and say, okay, who's been to Seattle? Who lives in Seattle? What should I see? What should I do there? And I may even make a list of things to do when I go to visit Seattle. I'm going to get a vision in my mind. And I'm going to start to feel excited about all those things. Maybe I've got a few friends in Seattle. Oh, I'm going to get to go out to eat with this person and go here with that person. I'm going to have a whole vision. I won't have gone, but I'll be visioning it. Now, if that vision excites me, then I will go to the next step. So the metaphor in the car is that the driver holds the vision, so that the driver will keep looking towards the horizon, keep going towards that vision. So if I'm going to go on a trip in my car to Seattle, that part of me, that driver, will keep going to Seattle. Now, the front seat passenger, I call I forget the name in the book exactly because I change it. I change the name depending on what I'm saying, but that's the navigator. That's the word I use. The navigator. That's the part of you who gets out the maps, makes a plan, and then helps the driver or the visioner make sure they get on the highway and the road wherever they need to go. So we need to create a plan, whether we're growing a business or going to Seattle, right? And that's where the practical meets the visioning. Now, the other 2 people in the car, on one side is the voice, the inner cheerleader, the part of you that's talking to yourself, the voice in your head. And that part of you, I encourage you to have an encourager voice inside your head to help your driver keep moving forward. And then the other side, it's the action taker. That's the part of you that goes out and does things. And then we've got the trunk. And if you've got stuff in the trunk that's weighing you down, you'll never leave the driveway. So that's the case also, whether you're going on a trip or going to business. So now back to your question, LaWanna, or your statement. I think you were just saying, let's talk about this. How do these things bridge, right?
Yes.
Does that make sense? Is there more to add here, you think?
I want to, so I think we're clear on what you said about the vision, that the driver who holds the vision. But let's talk about that, the person in the passenger seat. And you said that individual, that part of you, is making the plans. And I'm going to throw this because this is about Choose the Challenge, the power of the pen. The individuals who we plan to plan to plan to plan. We get in that do loop. It's like, so I'll use your the driver, the metaphor of driving, and we think about the roundabouts, right? We're moving, but we're looping. So I want to toss it to you to talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's interesting because there's a couple of ways that we can do that. And it's interesting that you talked about the people who will plan to plan to plan. That's very funny. So that can happen, and I'll speak to that in just a second. It also can happen that if you do not have a vision, if you don't have a Seattle, if you will, if you don't have a place where you're going with your business, You can just get in your car. Okay, I'm going to grow a business, and you'll drive around your neighborhood, never get anywhere. Stay in the same place. So that's one way you can loop. But another way you can loop, which I don't often think about, but is true, is you can think, okay, I want to grow a business. So let me start on my plan. And now I'll go watch this course. I'll do this free challenge. Oh, I'll pay money for this. And then, okay, that all sounds good. That person, what she's doing is really good, and never actually do a thing. And I know, and I feel for you if that's the case. A lot of people do hold themselves back from actually taking action, because taking action is where where the actual stuff happens, and it's where you could get rejected. It's where you could fall on your face. It's where you could have amazing successes. And all of that is a bit scary. So if you just hang out in the planning and thinking about it and taking courses and considering the possibilities, you can stay safe. It's very safe. And you'll never have the amazing experience that happens when you have a client who responds to what you did and goes, oh my God, like for me, Katheryn, what we did last time, I now have 3 new clients. This is really working. Or, wow, I so get it. Thank you so much. I had this huge aha, and now I'm really moving forward. Whatever it is that you do with your clients. Or you get, if you have a job and you need the money to stay in a job, you'll stay in a job because you don't take the action to move forward to actually generate income from doing the work that you're called to do. And you end up building somebody else's vision for them, which if that's right for you, great. I want you to be happy. I want you to love your life. But if it's not, find the courage to take action, one little baby step at a time.
I love that. We are here with Katheryn Yarborough talking about her new book, Keep Moving Forward, a guide for the on-purpose solopreneur. And we are talking about journey in your car and how there are different individuals in the car, which are all part of you, and how if you tap and tune in and say, turn on to that North Star, it can guide you to, as Katheryn has mentioned, your future on purpose self. So let's talk about that backseat driver a little bit.
Okay, the backseat driver. There was a little pause here. I think like my computer, internet. Was there something specific you want me to say about the backseat driver? Just talk about her.
Just talk about her however you feel led.
Fantastic. So some of us have a backseat driver that's not very helpful. Says things like, who are you to do that? It's not going to work. Nobody has signed up for your program yet. Nobody will. It's hard. It's hard to attract clients. Nobody's going to pay me. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't know, LaWanna, if you have any of those voices for anything that you do. You've been doing your business for such a long time. But there may be some that come in there every so often. So we need to notice them. We need to become aware of them. Sometimes those voices and the messages have some lessons for us to learn or point to things that if we give them a little attention will help us understand what we need, something to work on. But in addition to possibly using those voices to learn a lesson, which sometimes there is, I really encourage folks to develop that voice as an encouraging voice. And I teach a process that I call the new story process. It's a super easy thing. In fact, I'll tell you how to do it right now real quick. You identify what you want. You turn what you want into an affirmation. Let's say you want lots of clients. You may define it even more particularly, like 20 clients a week, but let's say lots of clients. And you turn that into an affirmation. I have lots of clients. You add, and this means to the end of that. I have lots of clients, and this means. Now you have a sentence completion prompt, and you just write a whole bunch, fill out a whole page of what comes up for you when you imagine having lots of clients. And then practice writing, reading, and then saying that story, I call it the new story, daily. And you'll start to change what you tell yourself. You will change what you tell yourself. It's important to develop the voice inside of yourself that talks to you in ways that are encouraging and supportive. and that tell you that this thing that you want will happen. So that's one technique you can use to that you can actually practice using. That's a practical thing to do that actually will make a difference. There's also developing that inner parent. Some of us don't have that. And years ago, LaWanna, I used to beat myself up. I was so mean to myself, and I would go, "Oh God, Katheryn, I can't believe you did that. What an idiot you were." And I did therapy and all kinds of stuff, and I discovered that I could parent myself and talk to myself differently. So that's another thing that we can do. So when that kind of thing happens, I can say now, you know what, Katheryn, it's okay. Let's learn from what you did. And oh my goodness, look at that. You actually did something. I'm so proud of you. And to be able to talk to yourself like that, that's huge too. So those are a couple different things we can do to develop that backseat driver who's the voice in our head.
Right. And another way of looking at that voice, that is our subconscious. And it's amazing when you think that most of our decisions and actions, 95% to be exact, are driven by our subconscious thoughts. And as you're saying, once you're aware, we don't want to bury it down and pretend it's not there, but once you're aware that these limiting thoughts, negative messaging, are coming up, then how do you shift that? How do you reprogram? And I love the exercise that you gave in creating a new story, these new affirmations. But just like a muscle, you have to be disciplined to do it over and over again to strengthen and to slowly impress this new code on yourself, so that now as you speak to the universe will respond in kind. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Now let's talk about the trunk, the junk in the trunk.
Yeah, the junk in the trunk. What would you like me to say about that junk? Can we just cut off that part of the car? No, I'm only kidding. If only we could, but we can't.
Right. How do we deal with that? How do we replace the junk with things that will serve us?
Right. So some of it is just pulling it out, looking at it and going, okay, do I want to keep this or not? So for example, I was talking to a colleague who has a membership community recently, and goodness sakes, I want her to grow her membership community to over 200 members or more. It would be thriving. But there's something in her trunk that's something like, oh, but I really like the smaller meetings, the smaller groups, because there's neat connections. And if there's more people, I won't be able to connect with all those people in the same way. So the stuff in the trunk needs to be looked at. And whatever your stuff is that's there, if it's recent, like that's something recent that got in the trunk since she's been running her business. We also have stuff in our trunk from our childhood and past lives. I believe that we have past lives. So anyhow, we got stuff in our trunk. But if it's something recent like that, you get to look at it, pull it out and go, well, all right, I have a decision to make. What do I want to rule my life by? How do I want to create my business? And that's, to a certain extent, that's true, I think, with the childhood messages that we receive. I would say I got, for example, shamed growing up with taking up space, speaking. It was almost, don't remember actually hearing the message. Children are supposed to be seen and not heard, but it was expressed. There was like my mother would go, shh, shh. Even in fact, I would say in the last year, my mother has shushed me. I mean, I was 59 at the time. I just turned 60. A 59-year-old woman being shushed by her mother. That was a lesson for me. LaWanna was like, oh, that must have happened when I was a child. No wonder, because there was some shaming around me being fully me, because I was just being me. Whatever, I don't remember the specific situation. I might have been laughing too loud, according to her, or speaking too loud for some reason, being my joyful, wonderful self. And I got shh. I mean, it's horrible. So that's in the trunk. I get to look at that and go, well, do I want to keep operating with that inner shh going on? Or do I want to scoot to the side and say, and pull it out and throw it in the recycling, or go get, energy work to clear it out some more, whatever needs to happen in order to be able to be fully me today.
Katheryn, I could talk on and on about this book. I just found it a very breathtaking and refreshing perspective on business. And there are key strategic business principles that you outline, but the way you tell the story does it in a way that I believe is not intimidating, allows someone to reflect on themselves in a non-judgmental way, and tie that with their vision and goals for their business. But then you add the tools and the steps to get them there, to continue to, as your book says, keep moving forward, right? Keep moving forward. So before we sign off, what is it that last words that you want to leave with our listening audience, number one, and then how can they reach you and how can they get the book?
So what I want to say is that if you have a feeling inside of a business, or a feeling, let's say you already have a business and you feel like you want to be successful, maybe you don't know exactly what that vision is. That feeling, successful, thriving, making an impact, that will guide you to your future on purpose self. If you have a vision of something that you're doing or a way of being, tune into that, because there's truth in those feelings and those visions. They are possible. And if you give them life and breath and attention, it is possible for you to become the person who's experiencing that. So please, please, please go for it. If we, us on purpose, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and especially women, listen to that and tune into our future on purpose selves, we will do what I call get on our moving sidewalks. And our moving sidewalks are moving in alignment with this great one. And if we all do it together, side by side, we will raise the vibration of humanity. And I say we need that now. So please join me and LaWanna on getting on your moving sidewalk and using your future on purpose self as the North Star, and keep moving forward. You want to stay connected with me? You can get my book, Keep Moving Forward, a guide for the on purpose solopreneur, on Amazon. Just type it in, Keep Moving Forward, and it should come up with this car picture. And on Facebook, you can connect with me in my group, Manifesting Solopreneurs on Facebook, and my website is manifestingclientsacademy.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Katheryn. Thank you for saying yes to being my first Power of the Pen guest on Choose to Challenge. This has been an amazing interview, very enlightening for me. I enjoyed your book very much, and I encourage everyone. It doesn't matter if you are a solopreneur, if you're big business, because your staff can get something out of this as well. I think it's basic business principles told in a very unique and fun way. And I think anyone can benefit from it, whether you're just starting or you've been in business 15, 20 years. It's something I believe, and I'm endorsing that it should be on your shelf. So again, tap into Katheryn Yarborough at her website, on Facebook, and you can get the book, Keep Moving Forward, a guide for the on-purpose solopreneur, on Amazon. And if you love it, go in and write a review. Support her. This is a time for women to lift up other women. And Katheryn, again, thank you so much for being a part of Choose to Challenge.
Thank you, LaWanna.
So to our listening audience, thank you again for joining Choose to Challenge. And remember that this is the time for women to rise up in their truth, in their authentic voice, and not be afraid to push the envelope, raise the bar, and choose the challenge. Until next time, good night. Barbara, how's it going?
How you doing, lady? How you doing?
I'm doing great, doing great. Um, I told you that was going to be a powerful interview. What'd you think?
Very powerful. And I love Katheryn's book so much. I mean, you told it. I mean, I have to say, you put it out there when you read it and you interviewed her. You said, Barbara, you got to read this book. It's really good. It gives you that guide. And I was like, okay. You know, it was like, you know, that secret sauce that you were kind of saying. And then when I read it and looked at it and interviewed her too, I was like, LaWanna was right. Very good information. I love how she paced it through the book. It's like that instruction for you to do what you need to do instead of just reading some information saying, okay, I'll get to it. So yes.
Yeah. The one thing that I was thinking about with the book, in fact, I would like to read this because I went in on Amazon and did a review. And I've been in business for over 30 years, and I'm a junkie when it comes to reading, and I really love business books. And honestly, Barbara, for me to say of all the books that are out there, great reads, this I believe is a must have on any entrepreneur's shelf. They said I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of books, business books that I read, but this one just literally caused me to pause and just sit in again this unique perspective of the message. And so I wrote in on Amazon. I said a book with back to basic business principles. I enjoyed Katheryn Yarborough's book and the business principles and how she conveyed them using the allegory of a car and a road trip. This guide provides steps to do the inner work as a solopreneur in order to readjust, reposition, or even remain relevant in your business journey. Though this book is written specifically for the solopreneur, as a 30-year serial entrepreneur, I believe these principles are ones that can be adopted by any level of entrepreneur. Success Leaves Clues, and this book is packed with the clues to allow you to be an active and intentional participant in your business journey. I recommend this to be one of the reads to include in your business library. I think one of the things that we see often in business books, I mean, they're very tactical and strategic in nature, as is this book. However, this book aligns the inner working, the inner size that we have to do as business owners. We have to first be true to ourselves, right? Ask ourselves, are we really being authentic? And you and I have talked, I want to toss this to you. You and I have talked so much about individuals having this, and I'm going to put air quotes, vision, right, for their business. But the next thing we know, they're doing something so far left. We're like, but I thought that was your passion. I thought that was your purpose. I thought that was your drive. What happened, Barbara?
Well, as President Katheryn's book said, the car went off to a whole nother different direction. It went and it went to this other fairy tale land where now it's driving into somewhere we don't know, the unknown. Yeah, so basically you're right, LaWanna. People have a tendency of like they're on that road and they're going, they're straight. They're like, this is what I want to do. This is my business. This is what I'm purposed to do. And then all of a sudden, go left and way left sometime. And then you have to ask yourself, and I always asked before, I was like, well, you know, things happen, life stuff. But then sometimes some people do it all the time. It's like they go back on the road and they go left again. They'll go back on the road and they go left again. And then I got to ask myself, okay, is that really what you should be doing then? Maybe that's not what your really gut that's telling you that you should be doing in the world is just that, you know, what your business or what you're doing. You got to like re-examine yourself and think about it and see why you keep getting off the ramp. I mean, I am using this car analogy really well.
No, but do you see? And that's what I think was so brilliant about this book is the car analogy. Everyone can identify with it.
That's
everyone.
What
it's like, who can't relate to that?
She took something so obvious. That's what
Yes.
I was going to say the same thing you were saying, LaWanna. She took something so obvious where we could all just put it in our head and know exactly how in every situation, how that ride, in your car, that journey that you're doing, there's all different ways that you can look at it. Like off ramp, she talked about the backseat driver, which a lot of times I want to hit.
Exactly.
The junk in the trunk. I mean, it's just everything relates to what we do when it comes to our business, when you think about it.
Yeah. And the junk in the trunk, I mean, that's where the real work comes in. If we find ourselves like, okay, why am I still stuck? Why am I not moving the way I should? And sometimes it could be so simple as, and it's not simple, but simple in understanding the impressions that were placed upon us in our childhood, right? That have now created this sense of fear or self-doubt, or like she said, guilt, shame.
Mm-hmm.
I know one of the things, and I think that's why, the community that you and I co-founded, Celebrate You, that movement, it's so important for women to be able to stand up and express and applaud themselves. Because for me, for years, I felt guilty saying all the great things that were happening in my life. I really did. I'm like, I need to keep that quiet. It's like, no, I'm gonna let people know. This is good stuff happening, and it's okay to celebrate, and it's okay to say this is where I'm going.
Yeah,
and not make excuses for your success.
Yes, and just to add to what you're saying about, you felt like, I should put it out there what I'm doing, and I felt the same way. And people used to tell me, this is what the backseat drivers now. People used to tell me, well, you can't be why are you bragging on yourself? You can't do all that. That doesn't look good. It looks like you have an ego trip. I mean, they was putting all that in my head. So I was like, okay, I better not say nothing about me, because they're going to think I'm, whoever, when I'm talking about everything I'm doing in my business. I finally got rid of that aspect of it and said, no, people need, then I said, well, how's people to understand your credibility, what you do, what you bring to value? How are they going to know that if you don't put yourself out there?
Right. Yeah, and often we're waiting for someone else to carry our water, for someone else to celebrate us. And it starts with you first saying, yeah, this is who I am. This is who I am authentically. And I'm going to let the world know. And it may be attractive to some, and it may not be for others, but it's okay. It's who I am, and it's what I'm intended to do. One of the things that I loved what she said, she was talking about your on purpose self and understanding that future self, that future state. And I encourage those of you who are listening as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, how often do you have those conversations with that future state of where you are intended to be in your business? Can you see it? Are you holding fast to that? Because that future self, if you stay in alignment, Barbara, I believe it will guide you down the right paths to get ultimately to that end where it truly becomes a manifested reality in your life.
Yeah, because how I know some people say, look at when you're dealing with projects or whatever in life, you look at what the ending result is going to be, and then you bag back so you can be planning out to get to that point. And I think some similar, like she's saying, what what she's saying and about your future self, is look at what you want your future self to look like. And then you start where you're at now to plan and guide yourself to keep on that road to get to that part of your future self. And I think when you think of it, I think this is what I've been doing lately. I've been thinking of it like that. I'm like, okay, well, am I ready? Like when I get 70 years old, that I have everything planned out where I can just do what I want to do if I want to run a business or whatever, and don't have a financial struggle with it. Or do I have the money to sustain myself where I can just do what I want, go buy a car at 70, hey, whatever, but I have to plan that now, looking at my future self to make sure that it's going to happen. Not waiting till the age of 67 and say, oh, well, let me start. I got 1 year.
The one thing that, she was talking about is we do have alternative futures, depending on our choices that we make, because life is a summation of choices. And we can all think back like, okay, just use me, for example, had I not gone to college, I had made that choice, my life would have taken a different path.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what it would look like, I have no idea, but it still would have taken a different path. And so, I again encourage everyone to, if you are curious about this book, go to Amazon and read the reviews. And again, it's not a huge investment, but it literally can give you some ahas to make you tweak some little things, to again propel you in that forward movement. And I'm going to put the name of her book here and let you say a few words, Barbara. And then I want to talk about another guest that we have upcoming in February.
Yeah, so I just want to just relate again to what Katheryn was saying in her book about using the car, and that just shows you right there is don't make things. Some things are not so complicated. Sometimes we take things and we make it real complicated, and it could be just straight, just easy, just going through the steps in your life and with your business and what you're doing. And she took a car, just like we said earlier, to get through to distinguish certain things in your life, what you're doing in your business. And I ever since I read the book, I told you I've been using it from my own business and creating that, my future self. I never thought of it like that. I have to say, we're always open when we come to these shows that, we're going to be open eyes because, you learn from each other. I've learned from the book. I learned from LaWanna and other people. Yeah, you need to look for your future self. Before I was just thinking, okay, what's going to happen next? I got to get planned for week by week. I wasn't thinking of way into that future. So when you're reading business books like this, and, especially Katheryns, it gets you to think, spiritually, mentally, physically about what to look for when you're looking towards that road that you're going down.
Exactly. We put the contact information here for you so that you can check out the book, check out the reviews, and add it to your library, and reach out to Katheryn if you want to know more information. And Barbara, when I was listening to her, I thought, wow, you could take each of these. Actually, you could have 5 key trainings, right? An overarching training, getting people to get grounded as to where they are, and then dissecting it in those 4 areas of the book.
Yes.
It could be this massive initiative for change. But, it's not our book, but just it can be.
Just a little suggestion. Just a suggestion.
It can be. But our upcoming author in February, and I'm real excited. His name is Stephen White. Stephen is he's out of Chicago. He's a creative. He's a designer. He is a strategist, a storyteller, and his book in anime is called Ancient Futures. And the reason why I thought this is a perfect segue to that conversation is Katheryn was talking about our alternative futures, and this book. This series, it's a comic book series, and it talks about in depth from a metaphysical standpoint about choices, about what's real and what's not. For some of you, you may be thinking, okay, this seems a little deep. What is this? But if you loved and enjoyed the movie The Matrix, think about that, but different. That, again, the concept of, what's real, what's not, how our thoughts can shape the realities that we're in. Are we really in the reality that we think we are? It's a very, very deep topic, and I'm excited to have Stephen White on the platform to share about his upcoming book launch. Typically, authors that are on this platform, the books are already out, but this is so like next level in hitting, again, I think it's like a melding of genres. You have your sci-fi, you have metaphysics, there's a spiritual component. There's so many things that are interwoven in this, and I just thought it would be a very interesting message to bring to this platform. And to have women wonder, you know what? Is it live or is it Memorex, right? I'm dating myself. For those of you who are young out there, Google it and you'll get what I'm saying.
You went there.
I went there.
I love it.
But, Barbara, I know we just have a couple minutes before we're signing off. One of the things that we're doing is helping to position authors for increased visibility, getting that message out there. Mm-hmm. And I want to just toss it to you because we have several trainings that we do. We have a lot of free mini master classes and then actually paid master classes. But do you want to tell them a little bit about one that we have upcoming? And again, these will be going on throughout the year. And the goal is just to help you understand what it means when you get in the spotlight and then how to navigate it to your good. Barbara.
So I know we've been having, we're having probably another one this week too, and then we're having our master class. So with the mini classes we've been talking about like the 5 steps to basically create that impact as you being that person to show up. Like we were talking about earlier, to show up and be visible, when it comes to, media, period, social media, TV streaming, interviews. And we want to walk you through that so you know what key elements that you need in order to show up, understanding how to bring yourself and say to yourself, what platforms do I need to go on? To bring yourself to say, okay, with the timing, how long is it going to take for me to talk in this particular interview? And am I prepared to do that? Do I know about a call to action after the interview? Just certain examples that we're going to go through like that. And then at the end, repurposing. So there's like 5 key elements that we talk about in this mini class to get you to the master. So the mini is just like a little list. We're going to give you some little, just little stuff there, little nuggets here and there of what to think about. But the meat of it is at the master class that we're going to do. And I know we have it scheduled for January 29th. So that's kind of coming right around the corner. And that's where we really get deep to each key element that we're going to talk about. So you can understand when you walk out of that master class, you're going to have a script, you're going to have a checklist, you're going to know what to do, how to do it, who to talk to when it comes to showing up, getting that impact on the different platforms that you're looking for your business and for your being an author or in your business.
Yes. And this masterclass, we will be offering it probably every other month or so. But the important thing, as Barbara said, it's really, they're success leaves clues and there's some hacks to the game. And so it's about helping you to understand from a high level standpoint, but then digging deep. And when you walk away from this masterclass, you actually have your customized plan of action as you move forward. And obviously, this is something you continue to tweak and strengthen as you go along. But being strategic in your messaging and in your presence. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether it's to create awareness, to attract clients, build partnerships, what is it that you're trying to do? And that's the conversation about it. So it's not just, yay, I'm on someone's stage and I'm having this interview, great. But there should be something more than just showing up. So, and I think that we saw with Katheryn's interview, I thought she nailed it. It was a powerful interview because not only were we talking about the book, but I hope that in that interview, to those of you that were watching, you could see her passion, her commitment, and her expertise in being able to help guide that on purpose solopreneur in continuing to move forward in their business. So with that, I'm LaWanna Bradford here with Barbara Beckley. I'm with the Diamond Factor. She's with the Diamond Factor. I'm the Bradford Group Collaborative. And we thank you so much for joining us on Author's Corner for another edition of Power of the Pen. And we just encourage you to be bold, be authentic, be brave in your voice. And when you're ready, pick up and exercise the power of the pen. Until next time, be safe. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.